right, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by Kevin Wheeler, who's been talking about talent acquisition innovation for longer than most of us will probably have been in the realm of talent acquisition. He's been talking about this for decades now. You're the founder of the Future of Work Institute, and you wrote the book Talent Acquisition Excellence together with me. So welcome, Kevin.
Great to be here, boss. Good to see you.
Amazing. So let's kick it off flying with a simple question looking back at last year, and let's split it into two questions. First of all, technology-wise, what is the most amazing technological advancements, probably AI advancements in the talent acquisition realm that you saw in 2024?
I mean, there's no question it's artificial intelligence as the foundation. There's so many new tools and applications using AI that it's really hard to even single out any one of them. The one that I think made the biggest splash, so to speak, in conferences in Australia and here in the US were Scotty AI, and that was a huge player in the space. Very good at promoting and marketing what they do, but also with a very solid offering as well. And I think that gives you a hint at what potentially is coming. So I think every technology company that I deal with or have seen is somehow building AI into what they're doing in a significant way, much more than you might have assumed they would do a few years ago. So the key is really artificial intelligence and where it's taking us in this space.
All right, really cool to hear that a Dutch company called Scotty AI is actually one of the leading things now in the US and Australia as well. Of course, Scotty is conversational AI, outbound and inbound calling. Have you seen any other ones using AI which you think were really good last year, or is this really the one?
Well, I mean, I think there's quite a few that are interesting. I'm not sure how much they're being actually used or how significant they are, but I think Workday Recruiter Agent has been pretty interesting. Something that they've rolled out, which is definitely AI based and kind of automates the routine tasks of recruitment. I think people using Workday are going to find this a value. I think Humanly is another company that's doing some interesting stuff in this space. They're an AI assistant. It really helps with the candidate experience. And that's obviously an area that's hugely needs to be improved a great deal. So those are just a few examples of what I think are out there. But I mean, pretty much everybody in this space has got some new tool coming or has applied some AI application to whatever product they already have.
All right, really, really cool. So on the other side, on the corporate side, what have you seen last year, or have you seen anything last year? Who are the front runners, and what are they changing on their TA strategies and their TA implementations?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you really look at the ones that are at least purported to be the front runners, the Amazons, the Googles, the Microsofts of the world, they're doing some things that are interesting. They're using a lot more AI for initial candidate screening, for example. They're definitely investing more in automation of sourcing candidates. And sourcing teams have been shrunk. There's no question about that. SourceCon, which used to be the big sourcing conference, has now actually merged with ERE. So it's no longer a separate conference, which tells you right there that the sourcing world is becoming highly automated and is less significant than it was a few years ago. Changing, maybe still significant, but changing in how it functions and what it does. So I think companies are adapting and modifying by incorporating more technology into what they're doing, and thereby, in many cases, reducing the number of people in their organizations. But I will make one caveat. Those are some of the top-notch companies, the leading edge companies that have budget that have senior level talent leaders, and that have the scope and the flexibility to do things, to innovate, at least on a project basis. But I would say the vast majority of companies are doing very little. In fact, I just read this morning, before we got on this call, a survey was just released in the US of employees, not recruiters, but all employees in American companies about the impact of AI, and their answer was none whatsoever, which totally shocked me. So they're saying they haven't seen any use of it. They're not using it at all, and they haven't seen it impact their job. So we're really in a very interesting place here. We're in two world. One world, there's no question that AI is impacting jobs. Lots of people have been laid off just in the last month here in the US, at least partly because artificial intelligence is able to make their job more efficient or do more with fewer people. But people aren't really aware of that yet. So when you really look at the corporate world, I think that most recruiters probably have their head in the sand, and they're not really appreciating the impact AI is already having and will have in their careers.
All right. Good to know that we, as the Dutch, are not that different, because it's exactly what I'm seeing down here. There's a few companies who are innovating, who are using Scotty to now do all their outbound calls, for example, or have automated or semi-automated screening set up, and most of them aren't changing anything at all. So let's look forward then. You live at the edge of Silicon Valley. You see a lot of new technology, which is in the pipeline right now. What do you expect for this year or next year to completely blow everybody's mind? Have you seen anything on a talent acquisition technology that you're very excited about?
I think we're in a period right now where the next big aha in technology is going to be another application of artificial intelligence, a more sophisticated, more complex, and more useful use of AI. So, I mean, I think that, tools like ChatGTP and some of the other LLMs may have a huge impact on recruiting, already are having a huge impact on recruiting. So I think if you could have a live dialogue with a recruitment site in real time with an automated quote unquote human, which would be a computer. I think that one of the things that we're going to see coming in the next couple of years are humanoid robots, and these are robots that look just like you and me, hopefully look better than either of us look, that can intelligently converse with you, and you have no idea that they're a robot, or probably not a real clear idea that they're a robot. They're so good. I've seen some demonstrated that are just absolutely mind-blowing. Who's to say that we may have humanoid robot recruiters coming in the future? So these aren't tomorrow, these aren't next year, but these are things that are definitely coming. So I think what we're going to look forward to is a very different world where automation plays a huge role, where humans take on different roles. We'll still have humans in the process, but they're going to be playing a very different role than they do today. Less focus on sourcing and screening and assessment, and probably a lot more focus on relationships and engagement and closing candidates and overcoming the barriers to people taking a job. So I think that we're going to have a big shift away from our very administrative, tactical, often routinized approach to recruiting into a really different world. And again, that's part of the head in the sand that I think people aren't really very aware of. But recruiting is going to become more focused on marketing, engagement, in relationships, and much less on all this stuff that we value today, like interviewing and screening and sourcing and all these things that are just not that are going to be replaced with technology to a large degree.
And do you expect AI agents, just like who you can just tell, go search this candidate for me as a sourcing agent, or find out a background check. You expect those to become really big in 2025?
Not really big, but they will be there. AI agents are already out there, and they're going to continue to grow in both sophistication and capability. I can clearly envision the day when a hiring manager does everything self-service, just like we do almost everything today in other fields, right? He logs into his computer and just says to one of these AI agents, I need to hire a new whatever. And it'll ask him a few questions and maybe present a few you know, concepts or ideas to him or simulations, and then they'll go find somebody that meets the requirements. And there'll be no human involved until maybe the very end of the very process. So, I mean, that's potentially doable right now today. The real constraints are not technology. The real constraints are human, all right? And it's how much we're able to accept and adapt to these things, how much we're able to be comfortable using these tools, how much we trust these tools. So the whole issues right now, the whole EU AI Act, it's all based on lack of trust. We don't trust these tools to be as good as we are. And until we can achieve a level of trust that equals our belief in ourselves, we're going to slow the adoption of technology. And so the limitations are human. They're very real human limitations, not technology.
All right. Last question, and I know it's been a long time, over 25 years ago, that you were the global vice president of talent acquisition at a major corporate. But go back to that time. If you were, or not that time, but that job, if you were the global head of talent acquisition anywhere, or the local head of talent acquisition, what would be your top three priorities for 2025?
I've often said this in passing. I would find a good RPO to take over most of my routine recruitment, hoping and assuming that they would be leveraging technology to a far better degree than I could, because I don't have the budget or the expertise to do that. And one of the real strengths of good, modern, leading edge RPOs is their investment in technology and their ability to understand it and use it effectively. So I would find one of them and hire them to do the bulk of my recruiting. I would probably maintain as much as possible the relationship between TA and the hiring manager. And I would definitely probably maintain it at the executive recruitment level, which I don't think we're quite ready yet for RPOs to do that at this point. And potentially also at the graduate recruitment level, simply because I think there it's more a matter of building a relationship with the company and with the hiring manager than it is about assessment of skills or capability. So at the two ends of the spectrum, the top and the bottom, I think humans still play a huge role and will for a while. But the whole middle, the whole mid-level of recruitment, I think that could be easily automated / outsourced to a RPO or a third party that has invested the time, the money, and the effort into building a trustworthy and competent solution.
All right. And imagine that your senior level, your senior management would not allow you to outsource it. I mean, it's clear RPO is your number one priority, but imagine they won't allow that. What would your priority be then for the TA leaders watching this that have
Then
management
I
who say no way?
then I would look at my entire process and I would look at every process and say, how can we simplify this process? How can we speed it up through using automation or AI? How can we do that even with the tools and the resources we have? I would definitely look at things like sourcing and screening right up front and find ways that I could automate those processes. Assessment to whatever degree I could automate that. I would try to use whatever budget I could muster to reduce the length of time it takes to get a candidate from being found to getting hired, right? And I think that's the huge bottleneck. We haven't made any improvement in that in years. Still the time to hire is one of the few constants in recruiting, and I think that that could be significantly improved by a much better handle on the process in general.
All
Really
right.
looking at it for efficiency and speed. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for all your insights, Kevin.
Thanks for having me. Fun to be here.